Well, I got caught. You know what? We're going to do it live. I will actually not play the video because I messed up there, but it's all good. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the special edition of Ref the District. I'm Nathan. That's the Stoner. No, Trev, he is working at the Sky Bar tonight, but we're going to have plenty of people on to include you there in the comments section. And we're going to be celebrating. Now, Stoner, I try to make it a point in life to not celebrate people's downfalls or misgivings and all this other stuff. So today, I personally will be celebrating Josh Harris's bid being accepted and not necessarily Dan Snyder leaving. Now, I am in the onesie. Yep.
That might be a little premature, Nathan.
It might be. It might be. It might be, but it is that kind of day where we're going to have a lot of fun today. And yam, exactly. Oh, happy day. Michael saying one word, Milstein, Dubs family, sup fellas, Joseph, bye-bye, Danny boy. I'll go ahead and actually kick this music out real quick. And it's that kind of day.
It is, man. It's an awesome day. We're not getting carried away. We understand it's not final, all that good stuff. We're just happy that we know that it's close. It is now officially at the 1 yard line, and we're just about to get over to the goal line, score a touchdown. We're really happy about this. Excited to talk about all the different folks we're having on too.
Yeah, we're going to have
a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of people here. In fact, we got one in the background that we're going to be pulling up just in a moment. But we got Tailgate Ted from the DMV Mess Hall coming on, Phil from the Command This Podcast, Steve from the Command This Podcast, George Carmi from Command the Mic and Full Press Coverage Washington, Rally Captain from the DMV Mess Hall as well will be coming on later. Amit and K. Dot from the District Divided podcast. Love those guys. Corey Sanchez from On the Warpath, Deuce from the Red Zone in the Lab. The Beard will be on. Brian, Mr. Who from Declassified on as well. And then Tony from Protect Sports. AJ Perez may be stopping by as well. That man has been on this beat for a long time, and we've appreciated the work that he's been doing. So it's just one of those things that, you know, what's kind of funny for us, Stoner, is we were actually getting ready to talk with Linnell Willingham about the Wizards. And then the news drops about all this stuff. And so that video, which will be released later this week, we do sneak in one Commander's question because, I mean, it literally just happened right before he came on. We couldn't just not talk about it, but we were pretty excited. And he said that this is almost like the greatest day in Washington football franchise since Dan Snyder took over. Like he's Linnell, by the way, 25 years old.
Yeah.
He's never seen the great years. Right. And Stoner, you're an adopted fan. And so you never got to see the great years. You came over with Steve Spurrier.
I did.
And so you haven't been able to get to see the great years. Do you feel like today, April 13th, is a landmark day for the franchise?
It's a huge day just because of everything that we've been through as fans. Like you said, I've been this way. I've been a fan since right around 2000, 2001, somewhere around there, just after Dan bought the team. So I don't know anything but one playoff victory. I know 3 playoff appearances. I think it is. Maybe it's 4. I can't remember. Yeah. Maybe it's 5. I see Phil back there. 6 even. Okay. But I don't know about all these things. I don't know anything about winning. I don't know about going deep into the playoffs. I don't know any of that. And it can all come back to one person. We know this. We know from what he's done behind the scenes to create a terrible situation just as a business. We know what it's translated to on the field, and that's all I have. So I have to agree with Linnell in terms of under Snyder in that era. This is a huge day. We can't forget about the Joe Gibbs 2.0. That was massive. There's a couple other things in there that will really lift you up. I mean, 2012 with RG3 was incredible. This is big. This is huge, and we're right there. And I'm super excited that we get to look at the stadium issue now again. That opens up. Free agents open up. All this stuff. So, man, I am just super excited.
Yeah, I think that it is. I've showed Michael's comment there. Been a fan since '72. Seen the best and the worst. Dan is the worst. Ben Willard asking, honest question, guys, is this a top 5 Washington offseason all time? And
It's
that
trending.
one, it's definitely trending that way. That one I want to get in some of our guests here. We've got Phil from the Command This podcast and Tailgate Ted joining us on the road there from the DMV Mess Hall. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining us. Today is a momentous occasion. Dan Snyder is on the way out of town. Phil, we're going to start with you here.
Something happened today?
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I mean, anything to have to avoid talking about the Wizards, right?
Oh, that's the truth.
Yeah, that's a bit rough. Yeah. Do you guys think, and like I said, I'll start with Phil. Do you think that this is a top 5 Washington offseason of all time?
No, because I've lived through too many off seasons. See, unlike some people like Liddell, who's 25, I'm 40.
Right.
I was born the Monday before the infamous 83 NFC Championship against the Cowboys, right? So I have lived through all 3 Super Bowl victories. I vividly remember 2 of them. One of my earliest memories is Doug Williams at Super Bowl 22. So I can't sit here and say this is a top 5 all-time offseason. Is it a top 10 most momentous moment in the franchise history? Well, time will tell.
For sure.
Obviously to an extent, but I've been trying to temper people's expectations because I know the thought process is we can't do worse than Dan. There's no way you can be worse than Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be really hard to get be under that bar.
And then I've seen people. Somebody's got a GoFundMe out there trying to raise like $40,000 to do a parade to celebrate Dan, celebrate the team.
Sure.
And people are donating.
Sure. Why not?
My response to that is the only thing we've won is an opportunity to move forward with this franchise, to progress beyond where we've been. That's the only thing we've won. Now, I hate to be the Debbie Downer on this, but
it's a real.
I just feel like celebrating that somebody else is buying the team, the way people are. I'm like, this feels a little extra, and maybe because we haven't had that much.
Ted disagrees with you, and I do want to give Ted time to talk here, especially if he's out on the road. Ted, you're a super fan. You're in the Hall of Fame. You're really closely tied to the team. A lot of the upper echelons of the team know you personally, and I know you engage with them. Do you think you're disagreeing with Phil here? Is there a lot of buzz, do you think, around this and some good? Is there a reason for those good spirits?
I'd say there is, and I'm going to have to disagree with you, Phil. I mean, not counting parades and celebrations, because I guess that is technically the off season because everything is done at that point. I can't think of a moment where I've been this happy. You know, drafting RG3, trading away all those picks to the Rams. I can't think of a moment, considering the past 24 years, that we have been in a nightmare that there was no end in sight. We thought that Dan was going to have to pass away for this black cloud to lift over our franchise. And then when word came out that he was putting the team on the market, we're wondering, okay, is he selling the entire thing or is he selling a part of the team? Now it's come out that the entire team, he will no longer be affiliated with a Washington team. And yes, winning isn't going to come overnight, but for the first time in a long time, we finally have hope that competent people can actually run the franchise that we love. And that's why I'm excited. That's why all those people, in my opinion, are donating to that GoFundMe. And please send me that link because I want to throw some money down too and join that parade.
If someone can find the link, I would love to tweet
Get on that, Phil.
Find us. Somebody get us that link.
I'm not going to contribute to your financial misdecisions. And I understand the hope, but I guess and maybe I'm just wired a little differently, but you want to talk about happy occasions, all right? When we won the division in 2012, I shed tears. Okay. When we won the division in 99, I mean, I was elated because we had seen a rebuild because, the team had gotten old and had gotten too expensive. They put in the salary cap and they had to almost rebuild the entire team from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And we won that division in 99, which I still say is the best team we've ever had, better than 2012. Fight me on it. But I thought we had reached that level. We are back, right? So moments like that, I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm more of I get more excited for the on the field product.
Sure,
and that's just sense. How I'm wired. Like, and I understand what this ownership does has a lot of an effect on the on the field product, but I'm just hoping that people don't think that because if we go 11-6 and get to the divisional round or we get to the conference championship, that they don't start screaming for heads to be fired because we are supposed to win the Super Bowl this year. We have new owners.
Yeah.
Don't
set the expectations too high.
Expectations on the field product, and that's the most important thing here. I'm just being a man of caution and logic about this.
That's fair. There have been a lot of cooler heads throughout this process, and we have one here in the background who's been one of the people who've been involved in coverage for this, and so we want to welcome back AJ Perez here. Who thank you for joining us. I know that this is your busy day for you, AJ, but thanks for taking the time to kind of put come out here.
It's almost over. Oh my God, it's almost over. It's so nice. I said this morning on the radio that it was like we're very close. Just like I didn't think we were this close. I mean, like 2 hours later, we have the report and we're able to verify some of it, and then it took a couple more hours to verify a little more. And yeah, he got above 6. That's like the big takeaway. I mean, that was like from the Snyder camp. They got above 6. They got 6.05 billion. This was so he's going to be making now over 5 billion from what he paid for it. He's got to pay after more than 5 billion plus minus the so minus 6 billion minus the 1 billion in debt. And yeah, it's a very big day. And it's like there's now we got to start thinking about what's next. It's not final yet, but we're about 2 months away from the NFL owners voting and then Dan Snyder officially being in retirement.
Yeah. So that's one of the bigger processes here is that it has to be, you kind of mentioned that the deal's not really finalized. It's kind of an open deal. They've agreed to terms, and there might still be kind of like this 11th hour. No, it's not. That's not what it's looking like. That's kind of what I kind of got. Steve might come in.
Steve Apostolopoulos. The only thing I could think of, this is my analysis, not my reporting, is that Snyder has him in the background. And this could be almost conspiracy theory, just in case something happens with Harris. But Harris is fine. Harris has been fine for many, many weeks. His bid, it was around 5.5. About a month ago, 3 weeks ago for the NFL owners meetings, it was around 5.5 to 6, and an inch closer to 6. Now it's above 6, and that's what Steve Apostolopoulos. Oh, Jesus Christ!
You got it right the first time, no problem.
Yeah, the Canadian. So I'll say the Canadian. I think. There's just he's been attached to 3 different teams and nobody knows much about him. And I don't understand how someone who, Josh needs over $1.8 billion cash to buy this team. Then he has to come up with the other 4.2. It's just so much, and obviously has partners, and that's how it works. Josh Harris is worth about $7 billion. He needs partners. That's how, because you need your net worth isn't how much you can get cash out immediately and buy a team. You have to borrow against stuff. You have to move assets around. It would just made no sense how somebody whose family is worth $3 billion US, his family can be considered a controlling owner, and that or a potential controlling owner. It never made any sense. And now everybody, Tillman Fertitta made sense, although the casino thing could have that he bought in the couple weeks ago it probably threw him off. But yeah, so I think we're very close to. I think before the draft we'll have an announcement. I said before the May 22nd owners meetings is when we'll have an announcement, but it could come sooner. It could come in the next few days.
Tommy T here asks, kind of mentioned that there's partnerships. We know of a couple, Rails and Magic Johnson. Are there any other names that we should be familiar with within this Harris group?
You're going to know a couple more. I'm still reporting it out. May have it tomorrow for a story. It's going to run around 4:00 Eastern time tomorrow. There's going to be a couple more names, and a couple of names are going to be more inside ownership, people who may have been part of Harris's other in sports investments. But yeah, there's going to be a couple of names. It's going to have to grow, and there's going to be probably a more diverse ownership group than obviously we have Magic Johnson involved. There's going to be probably some names like that. I'm not saying it's RG3 or anything like that. I don't know about any former commanders who are going to be part of it, but there's going to be names that are going to be known to people.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we have another guest here, Rally Captain, the partner in crime with Tailgate Ted. Rep it hard or don't rep it at all, right, Rally Captain?
That's right. That'll be $10, please. No,
he's got that copyright.
Also,
that's right.
DMV Mess Hall. Thank you for joining us as well.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Part of this, Phil mentioned there's a parade happening. Are you going to be one of the front runners of the parade? Are you going to be out there with the chain and everything, or are you going to wait to celebrate?
They're trying to fund the parade now. Don't. I did not say it was happening.
Well, the first thing about a parade is they've got to make sure they got permits to block the road. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't think they're going to get permits to block the road. So this is going to have to be an impromptu type of thing. But yes. Wherever it is, I probably will be there, providing that my work schedule allows me to get off. Or hey, I may even have to call off. I don't know, but
you got to call
like
out,
everyone.
man. Come on, man.
Like everybody else. Well, see, here's the thing, Ted. If I call off and they see me on TV, which they're gonna see me, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I got to look long haul.
Well, just be honest with them, Rally. Just say I'm calling out Snyder.
This should be a local holiday, right? Like, I mean,
it should be.
I'm rocking the one right now for the show. I have two different other ones. Ones that allow me to wear some comfortable walking shoes. I plan to now. Granted, I'm in a little bit different situation. I'm about to hit terminal leave, military retirement. So, I have really an easy time to break off. But I will be there. I already told my wife. Walking is difficult for me. I might need to get like a little scooter or something. But I'll be out there in a onesie with some comfortable shoes for it. AJ, you going to join us? I know you asked for that link, so Phil still owes us
I've got it out. I know. I think there's there's been talk of a parade for so long, and until obviously we have to wait for it to be official, just because it's we have. But yeah, I don't. Once it's announced, once it's announced, it's pretty much done. I mean, once it's announced, there's really zero chance that the NFL owners are gonna. It'll take a couple months. Dan Snyder will still be the owner for those 2 months, but the NFL owners are not going to vote this down. They're going to get if it's not unanimous, it'll be close to it. So there's really no worries. Now we just have really the next shoe to drop is the announcement, and this whole non-exclusive it's fine. It's Harris. That's it. I mean, there's really nothing else. They're trying to make Steve A feel better, maybe. I don't know. But it's
AJ, do you think there's anything, conspiracy hat time here, tinfoil hat? Is there anything to kind of got the conspiracy music going? Is there anything to maybe kind of get Bezos in? Because I kind of felt like the last couple of days with the Bezos news was kind of telling Dan, you just got to press forward with the Harris deal because there is no other deal coming. Is this kind of Dan still trying to inch and be like, come on, the number now, come over on top and it's yours? Is there any, or just
I gotta call Darren. Entirely. I gotta call Darren Haynes back. It was basically we've known for 3 weeks that it was Harris because the only thing we didn't know was whether Bezos would come in. And yesterday, first it was Puck, Teddy over at Puck, and then me right after when it was more definitive, like definitely not. Because I got shit on. Can I say shit? Okay, I got crap on Twitter for saying. Yeah, I got shit on Twitter for saying like don't because I have some information like why he wants to buy. That there was interest and there into the maybe he but I also learned last weekend that Snyder would also want to charge a premium for him. So for maybe he had to spend another couple $100 million over Harris, and like it's when you talk about billionaire egos, we heard Dan Snyder is going to make him sell the Washington Post. Dan Snyder is not going to make Jeff Bezos do anything, including bid on the team. So when it was it was very interesting because Tillman Fertitta talked to CNBC right around the same time where we were reporting on Bezos being out. And Fertitta saying, he did say he bid $5.6 billion, but his casino thing also could have been issues, possibly why he didn't go forward. But also he didn't want to get into bidding more, I'm sure, with Harris. But Harris knew for the last, maybe because I've been telling him, but his people. But it's like he pretty much knew at the end he was it. He probably had news. He probably had the heads up from Bezos a few days back, maybe a couple of weeks back. So he wasn't going to bid against himself. He did get a little above 6 to satisfy Snyder, but he has partners, and that's the way it works. Now, the next thing up is the approval from the NFL owners, which will happen. Like I said on Twitter before training camp.
All right. Well, AJ, we'll let you get back to that phone call with Darren. We appreciate you jumping on here and giving us some of that inside information. So thanks again, AJ.
See you later.
All right, see you, AJ.
Tailgate, to you real quick, because I asked your buddy there, Rally. He's going to be at the parade, or maybe not, because he might have to call out and all this other excuses. I don't know. My man told me rep it hard or not rep it at all. So I'm kind of disappointed.
That's $20.
Yeah, there we go. $20 to the ref account. But Tailgate, you've been a big part of this team, circled the team for a long time. And if there's a parade, I imagine you'll be there and probably, do your tailgate thing. But one of the questions that we're kind of seeing in here with the ownership is the part of the deal is that FedEx location. Obviously, they got the Ashburn location in there as well. With the stadium, the big talk with Bezos was kind of the inside track to getting it back at RFK. Do you really think that they're going to be a better push for RFK and we're going to be able to start doing tailgates there? Or do you think that the FedEx location's good enough if we just dress it up or rebuild that area? Because remember, they own 200 acres of that land.
So RFK to me is not viable until Congress says, I'm going to give the land to DC. Between the fact that the DC City Council and Mayor Bowser can't agree with what they want to do with the land, and the fact that it's a Republican-led Congress, I don't see it happening regardless of who was going to own the team at that point. PG County is dedicating $1 billion. The developer of One Loudoun is putting in $1 billion to build a One Loudoun-like town center out there. They're redeveloping that part of the community regardless of a stadium. And yes, everyone's poo-pooing on FedEx, but it's not going to be the FedEx that we know. It's going to be in a different part that's supposed to have shops and restaurants and closer to the metro. So don't knock it, because in my opinion, the only other location is Dumfries or Woodbridge. And imagine how horrible that would be. So if we can't get RFK, which is what common sense dictates, but we're dealing with the government, common sense doesn't actually happen with them. I think FedEx Field's the most logical step.
I know Phil's got to roll out here pretty quick because you got Command This podcast coming at 8:30. Phil, before you go though, what are you looking forward to most post sale?
Unification.
Bringing fans back.
This fan base.
Amen.
Finally, look, and I'm one of these people, despite what a lot of people want, I do not want to deal with a third rebrand in 4 years and have that discussion all over again. Look, we have a name, we have uniform, we can do uniform tweaks, whatever. Just move forward, new ownership. We have the name, that's already settled. I will say this. I like some of the window dressing they've done to FedEx with the rebrand. I'd like to see that continue. I'd like to see just better organization from the executive side when it comes to putting together events. I think they've taken steps in the right direction, but I think that now with a new ownership team, there could be better focus when it comes to things like that. And I think those are the types of things that you can help bring the casual fans back in a little bit. Of course, the biggest one, winning.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
solves everything.
I know
you're not going to see coaches change, front office change. None of that's going to change because it's too late to do that now. We've already started free agency. We're a week from the draft. You don't just completely throw out your entire coaching staff now.
Yeah.
I like the direction everything's going in that regard overall. So let's continue it. Let's ride that. Let's take that step forward this season and let's win something. And then we can all celebrate.
Awesome.
That's right, Phil. Thank you again for joining us, Phil. You can check Phil out on the Command This podcast. Thank you again, sir, for coming in and sharing some of your thoughts. And you still owe us a link. Make sure you send that link.
I'm going to try to find it. I got to go through a bunch of these Facebook groups. I know I saw the guy post it, and I about lost my mind. But until then, as we say on Command This, peace and hail.
Nice. Very good. All right.
All right.
I got a question for Rally real quick.
What's up, brother?
Got to go and tailgate. You're in New Orleans, right? Tailgate?
Yeah, I was supposed to be on the DL, but I'm down here right now. No worries.
Totally blew up the spot. My bad. All right. So
we won't say why I'm here. Let's put it that way.
All right. Well, tailgate's in Reston. Don't worry about it.
That's a screensaver.
Yeah, he's got like a virtual background. Rally, I want to ask you. You've been around. You're obviously known as the rally captain, and you know this fan base better than anybody else. Have you seen it decline over the past 10 years? Up
of
close
course.
and personal? Yeah.
Of course. And one of the biggest things that happens to me all the time is I get dogged out, and people say, "Well, why do you still go to all the away games? Why do you still go to all the home games? I mean, why do you do that? I mean, I'm never going to spend another dollar as long as Dan Snyder is the owner." And I say, well, hey, man. Different strokes for different folks. I enjoy meeting the fans on the road. I enjoy when the team doesn't have rallies, putting the rallies together. So what I've noticed is there's a lot of people who want to still support the team, but just not at FedEx. They will go to an away game to support the team versus at FedEx because they feel as though the money is going to the other owner, even though a portion of it is still going to Dan Snyder.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Ted?
And now that everyone knows I'm in New Orleans, let me just say, I was walking around with a Commander's hat on and a shirt, and I had people buying me Hurricanes.
Wow.
No joke. Giving me hugs.
And you're still standing?
Wanting to celebrate. I'm still standing. I had to film a TV show, so I couldn't take all the Hurricanes. But, I mean, honest to God, guys, people are just happy for us.
Yeah.
And just like Rally's saying, we walk around D.C., we walk around town, go to away games, and people question your sanity at times for wearing gear. How can you still be there? How can you still support him? They question basically your morality for being a fan of this team at times, given all the scandal that we've faced. And now knowing that you can be a fan of this franchise and hold your head high.
Yeah.
And that literally all of that off the field stuff is going to go to London with him. And we don't have to worry about it. I'm sorry, I can't stop smiling. I really can't. It's just such a happy day.
Not even the Hurricanes.
It's not even the Hurricanes you're pummeling. All those shots you're doing down there.
Well, we appreciate you taking some time there, Ted, for jumping on in your undisclosed location,
virtual background,
and have a good time. But thanks again, Ted, and we'll definitely have you back on as the season progresses, and hopefully some more good times rolling for us.
I appreciate the love, boys. You guys take care. I'll have a shot for you inside.
Awesome.
Hey, Rally Captain, one last question before we let you go as well. We're talking about the fan base kind of being reinvigorated. One of the first things I saw was, which was humorous to me, on Twitter, you have the salespeople for season tickets just out there. Hey, season tickets are available. You can contact me and buy. And I expect to see kind of a resurgence in this fan base. Now, one you're saying, which I won't owe $30, but you can read it behind you right there.
I give you permission. Go ahead.
Rep it hard or don't rep it at all. Some of these fans haven't been repping it at all for a while. What do you say for those that are coming back into it now that Dan Snyder's
That's
gone?
interesting.
Well, what I take my hat off to them, because one thing is they're staying on their principles. They said they would never spend another dime as long as he's there. Well, the fact of the matter is he's on his way out, and the phone calls and the text messages that I've received saying, dude, tomorrow morning I'm contacting the office for season tickets. It's through the roof. So I expect opening day to be just bananas, training camp, bananas. I expect from here on out, and truthfully, once he signs the dotted line, that this is just going to go to another level.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that answer. And I for one, and I welcome people back. Get on the bandwagon. Get on it.
Oh yeah,
plenty of room.
There's never a bad time to be a fan. Like we're all diehard fans, and we're going to be there, win, lose, or draw, as we saw this last season. But if fans want to jump in when we're winning, jump in when we're winning. I'm not going to hold it against them. So I'm glad to hear you're kind of the same boat. You know, they stuck to their principle. Now they're with the team, and hey, this is the time to rep it hard. So we appreciate you, Rally Captain.
That's right. Appreciate you having me, guys.
So you have a good night now, and we'll see you at the head of that parade.
With my W on, baby.
There you go.
You want to give us your slogan one time?
Hey, rep it hard, or don't rep it at all.
Nice.
It's Rally Captain, and I'll be out of here.
Excellent. Thanks again, Rally.
All right, buddy. Take care.
I have a good question here for our next guest, George Carmy from the Command the Mic and Full Press Coverage Washington. George, thanks for jumping on with us. It is a kind of day.
I love that. 100%. It's great.
George, with the with kind of the resurgence in the fan base and the excitement and everything kind of coming back, you know, one of the things that we've talked about here on Ref the District is whether or not the team can be on Hard Knocks. You think that this sale kind of puts Washington at the forefront because they haven't announced who the Hard Knocks is going to be about. Do you think this is now the time to strike it and be like, HBO has got to be salivating, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do think so. I do. I think prior to the sale, I thought that the Jets would be the front runner with the acquisition of Aaron Rodgers and having that high profile quarterback. And just, you know, he's very polarizing in himself, you know, but I think, you know, I'm sure you guys know, you guys are fully attuned to it. There's been hints that like the business side of Washington wants to basically reveal and kind of pull back the curtain and show how we have changed in DC from what we had over the past 24 years. I'll be honest with you. I'm not super excited about the exposure. I kind of like, I don't know. I kind of like to kind of keep things in-house, but at the same time, I do think it will be good for our organization. You know, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but our team for so many years, what's up, Jesse? So for so many years, basically the team has been hard. It's been unappealing and hard to root for. It really has been. Like, you know, for those of you that don't know, I'm an educator. I teach at Montgomery County Public Schools. I go to high schools and middle schools. I'm kind of a consultant in the area. And it's very rare to see Commanders, Redskins gear. It's unpopular. Like no one really wants to root for the team. We don't have any marketable stars. Like it should be Chase Young, but he hasn't really blown up. There are people with very principled values here. It's a very opinionated area in the DMV. People found the name offensive in some aspects, and people found the owner apprehensive as well. So it would be nice to have a fresh start. I think with the new rebrand, I think with this pull back the curtain, with a new owner, I think that would be appealing. And I think it would be nice to kind of have people rooting for us finally. Like we're kind of the underdog story. Like to kind of finish my thought, Detroit Lions, Cleveland Browns are kind of like lovable losers, right? People wanted us to lose because they were angry at us. We weren't lovable. We weren't lovable, right? And I think that's the kind of the disconnect that some people have. Like, oh, like, you know, people are against us because there was apt reason for to be against us, you know? So I think hopefully we'll pull it back.
As you can imagine, man, there's going to be Hard Knocks or not. There's going to be, as Rally said on his way out, there's an air of just booming excitement and hope and just I can't even get the words out of what it's going to be like going into training camp. It's just going to be amazing on how everybody's going to feel. Do you just on the surface, here it is today, we're in April, we're a couple months away.
Yeah.
You think that this sale is going to have you doing certain things that you maybe wouldn't have done, like extra times in training camp, extra games you might go to, whatever it might be? Maybe it's even buying extra jerseys. And I know you've got all that stuff, but maybe it's a little bit extra this time.
It's a little bit different for
Say
me. 'Cause
extra more.
You say extra a lot. It's an extra a lot, but it's all good though. It's kind of hard for me. I am, I'm as diehard as it gets. I have season tickets already. I go to training camp. I'm going to go to the draft party. I have the jerseys. But one thing that I love, and I see you guys at the games as well. It's going to be more prone to get my brother involved, get my wife involved. There's going to be more like buy-in from my friends. It's kind of hard to get people together. I'll live 30 minutes from the stadium. Hey guys, who wants to go to the game with me? It's a hard sell. Like, who wants to drive 3 hours, spend all this money and see a loss? People are kind of tired and exhausted by that. But I think my wife kind of got caught up in the whole Commanders rebrand movement. And I think, a new owner, she can actually wear her jersey with pride and be excited as well. So I just do think there is going to be a build of excitement. And guys, I see you at the game. It's going to be so much fun to actually have a 80%, 85% capacity stadium. Is it going to be sold out? Who knows? But just having it more energy in the stadium is going to be so much more fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I know our next two guests are super excited as well. Welcome the gentlemen from the District Divided podcast. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here. Just how excited are you for?
Is that K-Dot? Did you just do that?
No. I'm usually the one trying to do the sound effects stuff, but it wasn't me this time.
Yeah, this is my favorite today.
Oh, I love
Perfect.
that.
Perfect.
Love it.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, I mean, I'll start. First off, thank you guys for having us on. Really appreciate it. Big fan of the show, and so it's awesome to finally be sharing the same airspace as you. George, big fan of yours as well. Over the moon. Absolutely over the moon, right? Because this has been a cloud hanging over our heads for so long. I think everyone that's watching right now can certainly relate. And with each passing year, it just got worse and worse and worse. And there were all these off-field distractions. And I mean, I'm sure you guys can speak to it as well. Most of our show content turned into what's going on off the field. And so it's going to be really refreshing to have that new face, new owners that have already been involved in sports with the 76ers, with the Lakers, with, everybody. And it's just going to be nice to be able to focus on the on-field product again. Who's at quarterback? How do we feel about Sam Howell? Do we go after Lamar? These can be the questions now. And I'm so excited about that.
K-Dot, did you have an owner or, a horse in the race? Did you have a guy that you definitely wanted, or are you an ABD? Are you anybody but Dan guy?
It's mostly anybody but Dan energy coming from me, but beyond that, I mean, there were pros and cons with everybody that were involved, except for Mr. Canadian Steve Bacalava, or whatever the hell his name was. So the idea would be that, like, I get from a Josh Harris standpoint, you have somebody that has a pedigree when it comes to sports franchises. I know the 76ers were my pick to win the championship before this year. I am rooting for them with a vested interest, I guess, this playoffs. But so it's nice to see that you have somebody, and then the team that he put together. You have Mitchell Hale, who from the DC area has ties to everybody as far as in the government, so that helps as far as anything that goes with the stadium, right? Beyond that, you just the pedigree help. And Magic Johnson, who seems to be like the magic pixie dust on everything when he gets to be a part of anything, right? And then you think about Jeff Bezos, anytime that they talked about him still getting into the race, and it's like, okay, if I want to see a stadium back in DC, there's nobody with more money than him to make that happen, regardless of public funds or anything. So there are pros and cons, right? So, but yeah, anyone but Dan energy, because I mean, that's the thing. You cannot get much lower than this franchise has gotten over the last 20-something, 30 years, right? Like, the way I look at it is that, like, today is I guess I'm not as excited as everybody else today, because I feel as though this is just one step in the progression that we were going to get to anyway. So it's like every time I heard about a congressional hearing, I'm like, one more nail in that coffin, right? So this just feels like a giant nail in the coffin as far as or him being on his way out. But it's like knowing that the Super Bowl is right down the street. And it's there. That Lombardi trophy's right there. But we've been chained to a bedpost with a house on fire before we get outside to even make the race, right? So it's like that feels as though we get past that negative net energy, all that negative energy to even give us an opportunity to have anything good come to us. And that's what today feels like, one more step towards that.
And before you guys came on, sorry, Nathan, just real quick, before you guys came on, we had AJ Perez from Front Office Sports in here giving us a little bit of more insight onto the sale. And he said tomorrow he's ready to report. He's not ready to report now, but he's going to be reporting tomorrow of some more of those owners that we don't know about yet, the behind the scenes guys. He's gonna put that out there tomorrow at some point. So that's going to be interesting just to see some of the guys behind the scenes.
Seeing the names now. Some of those skeletons in the closet that we're trying to move on from. Some of them weren't necessarily even that bad, but because they had the stench of Dan Snyder, it just became something that fans would hate, right? And so one of the moves that I think was, because of Dan, was the move away from the cheerleaders to the entertainment squad. And so EP asked me before coming on, Jazzy was interested in this particular question. I'm going to point it towards George, and if anyone wants to add some input to this, please do. Do you think, they're going to reverse course on something like going back to the cheerleaders now that Dan's away? Or is there anything else that, over the last 30 years the team has done that you want to see reversed now that Dan's gone?
So in terms of the immediate future, I can't see them going back to the cheerleaders. I think it's kind of like a radioactive topic right now. And there's so much like negative energy surrounding it for so many years. I think it'd be tone deaf to immediately go back into that. But I think, I think they're going to kind of maintain the entertainment team and ride that for a couple of years. But what I want to see them do, and I've heard rumors of, is expanding the whole marching band. I want them to expand that a little bit further and go back to what we saw, previously at RFK. I sit in section 109, which is right in front of the big digital board. And when I was growing up, there used to be a large awning of basically the marching band behind us playing, Hail to the Redskins whenever there's a touchdown. So I think they're going to, from what I understand, they're going to look into making that larger because they have people that are applying for it. So I would see that expanded, and that'd be fantastic. I like to see more of like traditional values. Don't water it down, try to move ahead with some progressiveness as well. Don't tap in for the sake of tapping into things. But I can't see the cheerleading happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
How about either one of you, gents? You guys got anything that you want to reverse from the Dan Snyder days?
It's mainly just the stench, man. I mean, that's the thing, is like anything that they decide to do could be new and fun and exciting with people that believe in it to necessarily roll it out properly, right? So like that's the other thing, is that even without the Dan Snyder stench, it has been, for the most part, maybe just because of him, anytime that we have rolled out anything new, and a lot of other teams, maybe it would have been more exciting, but it always feels as though it's a half-ass rollout, or they bungled this, or they didn't do this necessarily correctly. So, like, I'm all for reaching into the past and picking out certain aspects of nostalgia, right? The marching band to me is a prime example of something you could do. I feel like the cheerleaders, I mean, we're safe now that Larry Michael's gone, but beyond that,
that was a shot.
Zing, yeah, I like that.
But
here you go.
We can do exciting things now. It's just about whether or not the new ownership group uses the positivity that they have around this sale to do things right by the fans and to put the fans in the right spot so they're not getting off to a bad foot with us. Because, I mean, I think we'd be quick to turn just knowing how much we've been battered and beaten the last 25 years.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I just wanted to echo what Kate and George mentioned, and also just say that, there is a lot of cynicism that came with everything that 100%. Got rolled out over time, right? Because even if they did a good job, if you looked hard enough, you could find something. And the thing is, when that stench is there, you're going to look. It's second nature to look. When that stench isn't there, you can overlook a couple things. That's totally fine. I equated this whole situation over time, the exhaustion. It's almost like being in a bad relationship where then all of a sudden when your partner doesn't do the dishes, it's a small thing, but all of a sudden it blows up. So like you would have all these small things, just to your point, Nathan, about the skeletons, some of them not even being that bad, some bad, but some not that bad. All of a sudden it was just like, here we go again. And now we can officially move on from that. And I'm so looking forward to it.
Now, one of the things Stoner's kind of railed against a new owner potentially doing, and George, this will be my last one for you before we let you go, is a new owner coming in, because you brought up Lamar going after and doing some of these things. Mm-hmm. Stoner does not want that. He that's one of those Dan hallmarks, was coming off the yacht and saying, you're going to pick this guy, and we don't want that. Would you trust the new owner to kind of maybe do the same and be like, no, you guys are going to go after Lamar Jackson because that's what I want?
Lamar Jackson in particular, or are you talking about big splash signings? What are you asking about?
Big splash, obviously the first name that would come to mind is Lamar Jackson, as he's available right now.
So if Josh Harris follows his tradition and follows his trajectory, he's not going to do that, which is what I'm hoping happens. He trusts the process. He's the one that created that catchphrase for Philadelphia, and he likes to build through the draft. And one of my good friends is actually a New Jersey Devils fan, diehard, and he talked about how they traded away veteran assets. They got draft picks. They basically built up, first round picks into their team. They have one of the, best shining stars on, I think young forwards on their team, basically top 5 pick, basically is a shining star for them. So I anticipate them going that route. I don't want them making big splashes yet. I want them to kind of self-assess. I want them to kind of look at the roster, look at the coaches, look at the football minds in the room. I think, it's funny. I don't know I'm curious to hear what you guys say before I take off. People generally criticize our football operations, but I think they've been doing a pretty solid job in regard to the draft. And I think they're people say we need a real GM. We have 2 GMs. We have, Marty Herney. We have Martin Mayhew. You can question their ability, but we have Chris Polian, who is the son, I think it's the son or grandson of Bill Polian, who's a Hall of Fame talent evaluator on our staff, and Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy and Jack Del Rio. We have solid coaches. If you want to blow it all up, you don't really know what the next step is going to be. You have to refill all those things. So I do want a fair assessment. I want things to shake out. Although Lamar Jackson is super intriguing, I think it's too much of a dice roll. Like Baltimore has been a more stable organization for a very long time, and they had one playoff win with him. So if they can't do it, I can't really see it transfer into us, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, K-Dot, you want them just come? You want him coming off his yacht? Because Josh Harris has got a yacht. We just don't know about it yet. Do you want him coming off the yacht
on Twitter yet?
Yeah. Do you want him coming off the yacht and saying trade Chase Young for the 12th pick and draft Will Levis?
No.
No,
you don't want that. No.
Football, not necessarily that, but I don't want the owner doing
Lamar thing. I was what?
My man brought up Levis.
Yeah, no. No,
go eat a banana with the peel on.
But I think that's what Georgia says. That's the main thing, is that when we're talking about trust the process that they did with the 76ers, I'm good with if they figured out that they have the guy who's the next Sam Hinkie, who was the GM there in Philadelphia, who decided to go through those years. Okay, we're going to do this, do that. I want to see an ownership group here fully support the football minds and to write the checks needed to see whoever has that goal in mind, whoever has that foresight of this is what we're going to do, to trust them fully. And the only thing I want an owner to do is to know when is the time to cut bait. And beyond that, it's just sign the checks. Like I want our version of the Robert Kraft. Every once in a while, if you got somebody doing something batshit crazy, all right, hold on. I'll have Bill Belichick with the Tom Brady thing. Hey, we're not doing that, Bill. But beyond that, let's just sign the checks. Like that's all. I don't need a meddling owner anymore. And you're right. I think Snyder's done a fairly good job the last few years staying out of the way, except for coming down and pick up one guy, the high draft pick every once in a while. But it's one of those things where I think that we're kind of marching in the right direction as far as what the franchise should have been doing for years. So just kind of continue that. Whoever's in the new ownership group, kind of continue that at least for right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm going to have a slightly different take from you guys in that I want the new owner, and it seems like it will be Josh. Who knows? Maybe Steve Apostolopoulos finds a way in. But I want them to be able to set a direction. If they choose to go with big splash signings because they feel that's best, I'm honestly okay with it. It really is one of those things where they have now some leeway. They're new. They're already in sports. The NFL salary cap is so different from the MLB, from the NBA, from stuff like that. Let them figure out what they want to do. $6 billion is a huge investment. What's another $200 million if they really want to go after Lamar Jackson, make it fully guaranteed? They work with fully guaranteed contracts already. So if that's how they want to go about it, I care much more about the culture. If it's around draft picks and young guys, great. If it's big splash signings, but they can prove it works, also great. I'm going to trust the process here and go with what they want to do. I think it's important as fans that we give them the opportunity to make their mark as well.
I think you have to just bridge the two together, right? Like, the new ownership, if they want to go the big splash route and get Lamar Jackson, and the Martys and Ron are not for that, then they need to replace those guys and get people that match their mindset and go that process. And so I don't think we're going to see any kind of shakeup because, as we mentioned, we're too late in the process. The deal's not even going to get finalized. Even if Harris and Dan, they agreed to terms, they handshake, signed paperwork today, it still has to get ratified at the end of May. And so at that point, you've already drafted, you've already done, everything that you can. You're right near the season, and it's just not. It's not a smart business decision to let it go. Now, Ron's probably on a short leash, but that's a whole nother subject. George, we want to thank you for taking your time out tonight and jumping on here on our show and giving your thoughts. Of course, you can always hit up George on his own stuff. Command the Mic, Full Press Coverage, Washington. We'll probably have him on again here in the near future. So thanks, George, for jumping on.
Good to see you guys. Take care. Have a good night, guys. Take care.
Yeah,
bye, guys.
All right, our district divided, guys. You were one of the first ones who reached out and were just so excited to be, about this whole situation. There's rumors. Phil did not give us a link. He said that there's possibly a link out there for a GoFundMe for a parade. You guys going to go to the parade?
100%. I'll be there. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I've been waiting for this day.
No, without a doubt. I mean, it just depends on what. Like, after seeing, even driving through DC today, because I live in Baltimore, I was in DC when I got the news. I was right on Massachusetts Avenue. Thank God they stopped the construction down there. And I was driving up, and I was like, all right, I need to take mark of where I am, so I remember this moment when I get the news across my phone. But it's still, you take everything with a grain of salt, right? This is one step further along in the process. But when it actually goes through, when it is official, the NFL letterhead, and the statement gets pushed out, that X is now the owner of the Washington, then yes, we need to figure out a place where we can all get together. Maybe it's just burning Dan Snyder and effigy at FedEx Field. I don't know. But we need to get together, and we need to party, and we need to feel that vibe again. The city needs to feel it again. You remember when it used to feel like when Dallas week, and it used to feel like when we had the big game coming up? I haven't had that feeling in this town, in Washington, D.C. in forever. And that's what we can do, that as the fan base. Just anything to get us together.
K-Dot, just think about, even while FedEx Field is still the field, the excitement of going, knowing there's new ownership. Yeah, I mean, for all those people, so I've been offered free ticket. We have the podcast, and I'll be honest, I don't go. It's just because I don't want to support the person in charge. And it's also inconvenient. It's out of the way. I'm willing to forego any number of those inconveniences if I believe in the direction of the team. And that's why this is so exciting. I would be more than happy to get off at Morgan Boulevard and walk up that mile uphill to the stadium to watch our team and feel that pride again that I felt when, you're a kid, and just be able to enjoy the on-field product and really root for these players and root alongside fans that care. I'm so excited for this.
Well, that kind of leads me into my last question for you two. And that's, the Washington football franchise, Redskins football team, Commanders have been so low on the totem pole of all DC sports. And you guys cover the DC sports as well. Where does this sale put them? Obviously, NFL's king, so technically they're always technically one, but realistically, they've kind of fallen, and people have tried to pay more attention. Wiz haven't been able to do anything. Nationals have at least won a World Series. And the Caps have OV and the Great Chase, and they've won the Stanley Cup. The Mystics have done well. DC United 10 years ago was great. But where does this catapult Washington Commanders back in the DC area as far as the big sports are concerned?
Go ahead, Kata.
I'm one to think that I think the jury's still out. Like, as much as I want to say, all right, hell yeah, we're back, baby. I don't know, because I look at the last time that Washington was actually really relevant as a franchise, and just think about the demographic changes, people moving in and out of the city. We already know it was a fairly transient city. You have people that have all X of reasons, Snyder related or not, for the last few years, they've kind of drifted away from the NFL or anything at all. The thing that gives me hope that we're probably looking at back to being number one is I look at those DC Defenders games. And the fact that you had, after week one, you had Audi Field going viral all over, Barstool, ESPN, everything else. So there seems to be a simmering underneath that we want football, and we want football we can root for. Because like Ahmed said, there ends up being, it felt as though a morality thing that kind of happened when it came to what you do to support this team. Sure. It turned into something weird, right? Like, it wasn't just... It's do I want to line the pockets of a guy that I really think might be evil? it feels messed up. So it's like with him gone, I think the sky's the limit. I'm just not sure. It'll depend on what's happening on the field. I mean, if we turn out and we have a 1-win season next year, I don't expect everybody to be running like gangbusters back to the franchise.
I'm going to be much more definitive. Make no mistake about it. This immediately catapults them back to number one. This is a sleeping giant of a team, of a franchise, and in a sport that this city loves more than anything. This is football and basketball. We have Alex Ovechkin, and thank the Lord for him, because imagine DC sports without him over the course of these last 10, 15 years. This is a football town, first and foremost. And to echo K-Dot's sentiments, I've been to 3 Defenders games. They have been the most fun I've had in years at any event. I have DC United season tickets as well, and it's half full. There are 9,000 people at Audi Field. That's less than half full. And the energy is absolutely electric. So if you can fill a stadium in the city, let's say it's RFK, or even if it's not, but you can fill that stadium up with these people, this place is going to erupt. This is a football town. This is immediately number one, and I'm going to say it's not even close. We've just been waiting for it. The number of people I'm sure you all know that say, I'm not a fan until Dan Snyder's gone. Do you know how many group chats I've got going right now where people are like, I'm back, I'm excited. Oh my goodness, I don't even know what to feel. There are so many people that have been waiting for this, more than we can estimate right now. This is huge. We are number one once again, immediately.
Awesome.
Good to hear. And I look forward to seeing you two out in the parade. I'll be there as well in another onesie, rocking the onesie today.
Oh, jeez, he's got to show his onesie.
Oh, I love it.
I told him he's not supposed to wear it until the sale's final.
It feels like a victory, gosh darn it. So I'm going to wear it. And it's always a victory having these gentlemen on as well. You can check them out. District Divided Podcast. We want to thank you both for jumping on here with us, and wish you guys the best of nights. Enjoy whatever it is and however you're going to celebrate tonight. If you're like our man Trev, who popped in the comment section, not going to celebrate till it's done, but he's going to pregame down in the bar. You can pregame with him down at Lexington.
Yeah, I was close to pouring a glass of whiskey, but I'm on Trev's side here. Not yet. But Nathan, Stoner, thank you guys so much. Love the show. Love what you're doing, getting all these creators on. Really appreciate you guys for having us.
You guys are awesome. Love the platform. Always supporting. Thanks for supporting us. And I'm going to go watch my money go bye-bye on FanDuel.
join Stoner in that. He's got like 20 losses in a row. But thank you, gentlemen, and you have a great night.
All
right.
Night, guys.
Yep. See y'all.
Our next guest here comes from the 54th and Red Zone in the Lab podcast. It's Deuce. How's it going, sir? We're also going to add the Sanchez. Yeah, Corey Sanchez from On the Warpath. We appreciate you jumping on here with us as well. And you know what? Let's make this a 3 for 3 here, as the Beard has joined us as well.
Nice.
But thank you all, gentlemen, for coming on. Deuce, you've been sitting in the backstage for a while, so I'm going to go to you first here.
It's all good, man. It's an honor to be here, to finally be here, finally to get here. It's an honor. So I would have waited backstage as long as I want. Y'all got some good lemonade back there. So I'm good.
Well, for this kind of day, we just had to have as many of as you on to celebrate, because it really is just a glorious day. Deuce, you run quite a few of the Twitter
spaces
that are out there, and I think you had one earlier today when the news broke. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yes.
How did that go? Was there kind of like this excitement, or are people kind of trying to be reserved? We got a few more people here like, wait, the ink hasn't, no one's even signed anything yet. Where was the sentiment today that you've seen on those spaces?
Yeah, I mean, at the time when we were having the conversation about it, we were talking about our rushing offense ranking 28th last year and how we can improve that. And if running back at 16 can improve that. So we just had this discussions about that, how it's just not about the running back, it's about the offensive line, the scheme, and all different types of things. Like, all of that matters, the value that you want to take at that specific spot, and if it really can help your team. So we was kind of having those conversations about that number, and we wasn't trying to make it about an individual. We was trying to make it about the position and the team, because we know with that individual that plays down south at Texas can stir up a room. But the news broke from Sportico, I believe, And it came through, and I somebody threw it in the jumbotron. So I said, whoa, wait a minute. So first, you know how Twitter is now. I gotta go check it. I gotta hit the star. I gotta make sure it's official. I gotta do all those things. You're like, hold on, wait a minute, this is getting real. And then I think next person was JP had retweeted it, and then Sports Illustrated, and then ESPN, and it was just started blowing up everywhere. And then, you know, more people started coming in. Everyone was excited. But see, I was the one, right? I remember a few weekends ago on a Saturday night when everyone went crazy when they thought that the team was going to be sold by that owners meeting that started that Sunday. So I was like, look, for me, I'm excited, right? I'm excited. And for me, it's not so much about the buyer. It's more about the seller, that he's not going to be here anymore. That's what is more so about me. And we're at a stage where now it seems he's fully committed to selling the team. But for me, like I told them, as soon as the sale is official, either by the team or Raj, I don't care about anybody else. No beat reporter. I don't care about any of them. I'm waiting for the team or Raj to put out a statement. And then after that, you can find me at RFK with my small grill, and I'm going live as soon as it happens, regardless of when it happens. That's where I'll be.
Corey, I was going to ask Corey. Corey, of course, here's from On the Warpath podcast, and we do a lot of stuff with Corey back and forth quite a bit. But Corey, you're known. You're an administrator, right? I don't want to, out you like I outed Ted earlier.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know if you guys were watching. Ted he was like down in New Orleans, and apparently
you didn't have to repeat it, Stoner. Well, you could have left that part out.
Nobody knew that. And
he's traveling, and Stoner dimed him out.
But you're an administrator. You're an administrator. When you find out what happened, is it something where you were around a bunch of people, or
nope.
Did it happen when you got home? What happened?
I love watching Corey's reactions, and I was going to ask him the same thing.
Oh gosh, I
want him to reenact the moment that this news came across, because if we're not doing a show, I love watching Corey's live streams of the games, because he's just so animated and so good. Now, if I prefer people watch us, but I mean, if you're not going to watch us, you got to.
You can duels. You can split it, Nate. You can split it, Nathan. You can split it. You split screen it.
But Corey, give us your reenact your live reaction, because I just know that it was just like EP laughs so hard when you're on camera, because you just say just some random country things normally.
Oh yeah,
and have some.
Granted, you would never think I'm from Nova. You never think I'm from Nova the way I sound, right? No, I got on bended knee, and I talked to the band upstairs, and I thought about my granddaddy in his little redskin shirt that he had. And I called my mom. I called my mom. I was so happy.
Really?
That was the first thing. That's the first call I made. I said, Mom, I got to tell you something. She's like, what? She's like, what's wrong? I said, he's selling the team, boys. And then the second call I made, I called the team 980, and I talked to Chris Russell, and I said, cock-a-doodle-doo, Russell. It is a new day in Washington. A new day has arisen for the burgundy and gold. It doesn't matter where we've been to, it's where we're going now. We got Josh Harris here now, a guy who very reminiscent, a background of like Jack Kent Cook, right? Because he owned the Lakers, so he knows what it's like to work with a sports franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, yes. We can take Dan Snyder. We can put him on the Macy's Day Thanksgiving parade, because he probably thinks it's probably Christmas right now where he's at. And I was filled with joy. I was like the lady in the corner pew, them small churches somewhere out there in the country. And I was like, Mama, just in the corner, say, yes, thank you, Jesus, thank you. Because the devil has finally been exercised in principle from this franchise. And for somebody like me, who is a young guy and saw nothing but losing, but I've seen a playoff win, I can say that much. It makes it all worth it. And I almost got teary-eyed about it. That was it's made hanging on to hope for 20 some odd years. It's made it all worth it at the end of the day, because this is my team. It's my family's team. It's our team. It don't matter what. It shows you how strong this fan base is dedicated to this team, not the organization, to this team. And we've taken a lot of hits over the last 2 years, but from us to get through a name change, through all these other things, to finally get here to this moment and on the doorstep of finally not even turning page, but burning the whole damn book down. Y'all, I can't put it into words how excited I am. That's just like I'm fired up right now.
How about you, Beard? Give us your story of when you heard and what your reaction was.
Well, obviously, I got notified from all the New York Giants football fans.
Authentic was one of the first tweets I'd seen about it.
A lot of the Giants fans sent me congratulatory tweets on Twitter.
Isn't that crazy?
So yeah, that was kind of how I found out. But immediately, like, I mean, I was just kind of like, okay, like, to be perfectly honest with you, because I'm used to Washington doing Washington things. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like I've learned. I don't know if I'm kind of numb to this sort of thing, or if like I've just kind of learned to like pump the brakes until, you know what I'm saying, everything is official, just because I'm so used to the curveball coming in out of nowhere, So like for me, I just kind of, I wanted to wait, because at first it was like when I started going to Twitter and started checking some of the verified accounts, people who like I trust when I follow. I saw that stuff, and then when I started telling my wife about it, and then I saw Schefter tweet that Stephanopoulos, what's his name?
Papadopoulos.
Stopopoulos.
The maple syrup Empire Guru guy was head to head. So like, then I'm like, okay, so see, this is why I don't get excited,
down, right?
Because like literally before they even could finish tweeting the first tweet, they already tweeting that somebody else is head to head. So I was just like, and then the whole fact that it has to be approved by the league and stuff like that, and we know that there's still a whole process left to go. But obviously,
imagine a world, Beard, where this doesn't get approved.
No,
right?
I think that's the reality of it. Obviously, is that I think we've gotten to the point where this is not just the fans that want this. This is larger than the Washington fan base. This is big time, big boy money stuff we're talking about now. We're talking about corporate sponsors, not just for Washington, but for the NFL. Like this is opening up a lot of doors for a lot of money to be coming in, because there are certain people out there, certain companies out there that didn't want to touch the brand of Washington, and in return, the brand of the NFL as a whole. So I think that's something that you have to realize, that's going to open the door. It'll all happen. I think the owners have had enough of it. It's just a kind of a clean slate for everybody, from fan base to, the corporates to, the league and all that stuff. But I mean, I've been waiting for it for a long time, but it's just, it's, like, I think that, and as far as like who bought the team now, it's like, it's great, and I think that they brought up a good point about how I'm more concerned about, the person who sold the team as opposed to the person who bought the team, because that's obviously a big deal here, because we've been waiting for a long time. But like over the last few years, I've kind of just been like numb to the whole thing, like, because you never thought it was going to happen for a couple of years until November came around. And then it was like, oh, snap. It's really going to happen. So it's a lot of emotions going in. And I think that for me also, I think it's important for the fan base to, after everybody's excited, I think it's important that we stay level-headed, because I think that, a lot of times people are like, okay, Dan Snyder's gone, we're going to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's going to be a lot of
jump.
Exactly. There's going to be a lot of moving pieces here moving forward. Obviously I would like to see, to me, the most important thing is to bring them back to DC. First and foremost, I just think that they've alienated the DC fan base. When I say the DC fan base, I mean, DC. I don't mean like,
DMV.
gentrified DC. I don't mean, I mean DC. So to me, that's the most important thing. And I know that's going to be a lot to try to accomplish, but that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. I'd also just want to say, don't draft a running back at 16.
Yeah,
I'll let you guys throw some more questions out.
I'm gonna have Corey jump in real quick, Nathan, because he's got to run real quick.
Yeah, my Cowboy fan downstairs, she's hungry, so we got to get out of here. So I told her it's a great day in America. I appreciate you guys having me on. I love what y'all do. I love what every one of y'all do on here, and it's a great day. It's nowhere near winning a Super Bowl. I know that for a fact. I'm not going to celebrate it like it's a Super Bowl. I bought me some wood tips today just because some Black and Milds for the uncultured folks. But I'm buying my cigars later, and then I'm going to smoke one on live, and we're just going to have a good old time once the ink is to the paper. But y'all, it is a renewed day and with this fan base, and just hug your kids, hug your spouses, and just remember where you were, because and remember where you are. Kind of like what Charlie Slow said when we won the World Series. Yeah, he messed it up, but we know what we're talking about. Anyway, I love you guys. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Corey. Enjoy your dinner.
You, brother.
Dude, staying on kind of that football side of the house there, we talked a little bit about the owner potentially pulling a Dan Snyder and just coming in off the yacht and making a pick. Whether or not that happens or not, what is the grace period, right? Like, Beard, you're right. This isn't winning the Super Bowl, and we're not going to win the Super Bowl this year just because the ownership changed. We could still win a Super Bowl because we're 17-0 until I find out otherwise. But realistically speaking, what is the grace period, do you think, for the new owner? Are we going to give them 5 years to see if is this like a kind of like a head coach position where Ron was given X amount of time, and that's what I'm looking at for Deuce here is what is the grace period for the ownership to kind of see some changes, like legitimate changes away from Dan Snyder?
Like, let's not act like prima donnas here, right? Like, we haven't done anything since 91. So let's just remember that before we go out and say we're going to get an owner 2 years to improve. But it has to be a grace period. It's so many things that this new owner coming in has to go back and do before he can even try to move forward. So we have to realize that. We have to understand that, and we have to understand that he may not make any moves on the football side for a couple years. That can be a reality because there's so much on the business side that they have to repair and they have to mend, that might be their full focus for these next couple of years, and trying to plan to get the stadium, getting all these things taken care of. So we have to give them a grace period. I mean, this is our new owner. I mean, there is no grace period, unless they're gonna sell in another 5 or 6 years. I mean, owners, this is not like being a supervisor at a McDonald's or something. You're not gonna come here for 5 years just to try to build up your resume. This is something you're gonna be, literally for the rest of your life, and you want to pass it down to the kids. That's usually the game plan. And if we have all that stuff in the building, we would still have Dan Snyder. So it's really no grace period. I mean, this is just what it's going to be, and the owner that we're going to have. But let's not get too cute here. Like, we haven't been good in a very long time. So let's not that's our expectations. Let's not put them so high. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more. I think the best thing that my man Deuce just said was there is no grace period. Like, before it was Daniel Snyder, right? Like, I'm an Orioles fan, so like I got to deal with Peter Angelos too. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's like it's just, for me, you have to remember that this is not fantasy football. This is a business. Okay, so they're gonna come in here and they're gonna have some sort of a platform, a business plan. You kind of have to. I mean, we're living DC, right? This is the world capital for politics, right? So when you have a change in administration here in DC, in the White House or stuff like that, right? They are either going to have to spend a lot of time backtracking and fixing things that were issues before they can even begin to attack the things that they want to do. So like there's going to be a lot that they're going to have to figure out. They have to figure out, obviously there's going to be a lot of fans clamoring for rebranding and stuff like that. And then, the stadium, there's a lot to go in. So I think what you're going to have to wait for first is to kind of see that first press conference, right? And this is going to be months away from right now. Like, we're not going to hear anything from them until the deal is done. But I would imagine that they will come forth with some sort of platform, maybe not necessarily promises, but ideas, things that they want to do, rejuvenate the fan base and so forth, So there's a lot to be done. I mean, you got to think about it. This was a top tier franchise in all of sports 20 some years ago, right? Up there with the Yankees sort of situation.
Yeah, I think it was the most valuable sports franchise in the world when Dan Snyder bought it.
And just think about where it is now. Like this is 20 plus years of destruction of something that was great, something that was valuable. So, it's going to take time. And I think that the plus is obviously that, we have some people that are familiar with how sports organizations work. So I think that the delegation of the money and the funds throughout the organization, whether it's, personnel, new marketing teams, the stadium, stuff like that, I have faith in them being able to handle those sort of situations. So I think that I think this is more of just a relief for the fan base. And now we can kind of focus on football a little bit more. I think that's the biggest thing, because think about it, football has almost been a back seat for this team, this franchise for so many years that I that for me is what's most important, because I'm a football guy. I'm not a news guy. I mean, I study journalism. We all love news. It's great for content, but I'm a football guy, so I just want to see football take the front seat again. And I hope that the fan base can kind of change its tone. Because, I'm sure Deuce will agree with me on this to a certain extent, is that the tone of the fan base, whether you were a person that stuck around for Dan Snyder and you didn't leave, or you're somebody who boycotted the Dan Snyder or boycotted because they changed the Redskins, there's been a negative tone in the fan base. There's always somebody to blame. Somebody always needs to be fired. Somebody always needs to be benched. We got to do this. We got to do that. I'm hoping that this changes the tone of the overall fan base, and we can stop blaming people for everything and just kind of let things kind of take place and roll into the future.
I'm going to answer this from MC Fact here, asking, is Magic Johnson part of the new ownership? And right now there is technically no new ownership, but he is a part of the Harris Rails group. Magic Johnson's kind of like the third big name in there. And Beard, you kind of talked about having some of that sports knowledge. Magic Johnson has quite a bit of sports knowledge that he's bringing to it. And for Deuce, last question for you before we let you go here, but how important is it to have a guy like Magic Johnson kind of, be a part of the team? Or would you consider Rails to be, who's come more of a local guy, to be more important than Magic Johnson, who's kind of that smooth talker?
Yeah, I think this is a good group if it's as planned or as rumored to be. I think Rails, which I was kind of out on him in the beginning when it was just kind of him, because he has so much going on in Philadelphia right now. Like, he has so many issues up there with them. A lot of that fan base is not on one accord with him. The city is not on one accord. He's trying to work on getting a new arena. But then when Rails came up, I didn't know who he was. But when I started, researching him, and some people was kind of, giving me some information about who he is and the different things that him and his brother did. One of the main things that struck me is that he takes struggling businesses, right, and he makes them better. I said, well, that's it. That's the guy we need right there. That fits it right there. And then you have Magic Johnson. I mean, just keep him off the second floor, like player personnel, GM stuff. Like, I don't want him on the second floor at all. But everywhere else, it's Magic Johnson. You have people like Rails and them that's from here. Magic might not be from here, but Magic is from everywhere, because wherever he goes, he's accepted as being one of us or one of whomever or wherever he is. But I really think Rails is going to be like the front person when it comes to dealing with, local politicians, state governments, and all those different things, because of the relationships that he has with them. I think he's going to kind of be the front man there. Of course, Harris is going to be at those initial meetings and things like that. And then the spokesperson, because Rails is not really an out front type of person. So that's where Magic comes in. The thing that he did on what was that? Good Morning America, I think, was that it? With that what he did. Like, I think that was planned. I don't, however they try to spin it, I think that whole situation there was planned, and that's who Magic is. Magic speaks his mind, and people listen when he talks people listen. So I think this group, if it is set as rumor, is a great group. It's a good group. And Magic Johnson, man, hey, look, he can go. Like, Magic Johnson knocks on your door. I don't care what type of superstar you are. You gonna answer and you gonna listen. So that's good for us.
Well, Deuce, thanks for joining us. This is Deuce from the Red Zone in the Lab podcast, one of the 54. Just real quick, explain 54 to people before you step out for us.
Yeah. So the 54th, I don't know if you all remember, but back in the 80s, the late 80s, when we were winning, we were originally the 12th. Like there was even a video and all those things about us being the 12th. But then, of course, we just started losing. We wasn't good. So the Seahawks came out of nowhere and they stole it from us. So what we're trying to do now, like once before we were known as Redskins Nation, and we're just kind of moving forward. So we're trying to look for something that can unite the entire fan base, representing both, the team and the area. And this is who we are, like not one, but all. We are the 54th. If you kind of look at our logo, it represents DC and the skyline. You see the stars around it is 21 stars, and we know who 21 is, which is Sean Taylor. So it's just something that we're trying to do to bring the fan base back. And it's getting a whole lot of steam, a whole lot of momentum. It's just not about football. We're also going to be helping with charities. We also have some things set up with the hog farmers. If you all follow my podcast, all of my podcasts have different hog farmers, just giving an intro of how we can help them and support their charity. So we're all about charity work, communities all over the U.S. and wherever we are. Some of our guys from over in the UK also, like wherever we are, we're just trying to reach out to the communities and make this about us. And right now it's happy times to try to bring and make something good. But that's essentially in a small part what the 54th is all of us.
Good stuff, Deuce.
Appreciate you, Deuce. And you have a great night. And I look forward to that, catching up with the next little barbecue grill whenever we do the celebration.
Yes.
Thanks again, Deuce.
All right. Take care, guys.
One's going to step away. Beard, but got one more question for you. But first, I want to introduce our man, Brian, Mr. Who from the Declassified Washington podcast. Thanks for joining us today, sir. Very, very patient in the background. We also appreciate that as we've been kind of really celebrating with people, and people have had a lot to say. And so, Brian, I want to ask you, what are your initial feelings here as the days kind of going on, where it was the sales, tentatively going to happen. Then as Beard, you kind of mentioned, you had Nikki J, you had John Keim kind of be like, whoa. Mm-hmm. It's not official yet. There's still some players. Now, we had AJ Perez on earlier. I don't know if you were watching, but what I kind of brought it up is there an 11th hour? And he said, no, it's really Harris's deal right now. But kind of walk us through your mentality as this day has gone on and the news has been kind of pushed.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It's been, it was awesome sitting back and watching all the guys. It was like watching Celebrity Jeopardy, right? With all the greats of the Washington Football Commander podcast scene. So that was pretty cool to see all you guys up there talking. But today has been a great day. It's one of those days where I think we've all had points in our life where we've just been stressed. Work, family, relationship, whatever it may be, we are just super stressed. And then it gets to a point where, hey, maybe we come to some kind of resolution with all of those things, and it feels like that weight has been lifted off of our shoulders. We feel a little bit lighter. We feel a little bit freer. The sun looks a little bit brighter. And that was today. I was driving around the Beltway, going from one appointment to the next, and my phone starts blowing up. I hear it come over the radio, and I almost swerved off the road. Like, I just could not believe it. Finally, you knew it was going to happen, right? We all knew it was going to happen. Snyder has run himself into the ground in terms of his options. He owes money left and right. Nobody wants to do business with him. Sponsors are leaving. So you knew it was a matter of time, but it always was one of those things, kind of like when you're a kid. Well, I'll never turn 40. Well, yeah, you will. It will come up a lot faster than you think. And, we just always thought, yeah, he'll sell it, but it's probably a long ways off. But it's here. It's today. It's real now. And all this talk about, oh, well, it's not final. It's paperwork. It's coming. It will be here within a few days, whether it's a week, whatever the case may be. But it felt great. It did feel like a weight was kind of lifted off. Like all of this negative energy that has been kind of permeating the fan base for these last several years, because you can't focus on football because it's one scandal to the next, one drama-filled session to the next with this organization, with this ownership, and that's gone now. We can start fresh. We can actually think about having double-digit win seasons. We can actually think about getting to an NFC championship game. We can actually think about hosting home playoff games. We can actually think of just about anything we want with this team. And that's kind of where I've been today, because it's one of those days where you know, and I don't want to sound too cheesy or too corny, but right, what did Kevin Garnett say? Anything is possible, or something like that. Yeah, everything is possible right now because we've got that dead weight lifted off us, right? That black cloud is now moved down the street to another organization. It's not here anymore. It's actually moved across the pond over into England, so they can deal with it for a little while, because we've had to do it for 24 years. So it just felt really good. You know, it just felt like, hey, finally a resolution to this looming issue we've had for so many years. And now I'm ready to start a new chapter. I'm ready to find out what's next. I mean, that's the exciting part, because it could be anything. We could be in for so many good times here, and I can't wait because we've seen too many bad ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Beard, you obviously, you mentioned earlier, you got a lot of Giants fans contacting you. Authentic, your other half of Authentic in the Beard is a Giants fan. Shame, you know, coming from the DC area, but that's another topic.
Shame is great.
When you get to talking with him, because we know this is going to come up on your guys' program as well, do you feel like this positions Washington above the Giants in the pecking order, or is this kind of just our mentality because we've just been waiting for, like Brian said, this dark cloud to leave? But you know, obviously there's a lot of hope, and you mentioned kind of tapering those expectations, but does this kind of again put us, do you feel like this might give us a heads up on the Mara and the Giants?
I mean, you know me, I'm an honest guy. You know, I'm not gonna be a homer. No, doesn't even, not even close. Obviously the Giants last year, you know, they're one up on us right now. They're one ahead of us because of the moves that they made with the GM and the head coach. They found two absolute winners right there in their GM and their head coach. Now, obviously, the one, you know, possible speed bump that the New York Giants are going to be facing is the contract that they gave Daniel Jones, and if Daniel Jones will, you know, outperform or at least perform up to the contract. And then obviously they're going to have some question marks around Saquon Barkley. But right now, you know, we're bottom in the NFC East. You know, if you had to rank all four quarterbacks, Sam Howell would be the fourth. I mean, if Sam Howell is indeed the starting quarterback, he'd be the fourth best quarterback. You know, I think we're behind in running backs. I think, you know, you could probably put us at the top, close to the top in defense. I think would be better than the Giants defensively. You know, I think the biggest thing for Washington, though, outside of the Daniel Snyder selling the team, is the Eric Bieniemy hire. I think that a lot of people want to put a lot of blame onto Ron Rivera. I think a lot of people want to put a lot of blame onto, you know, certain players. To me, the biggest thorn outside of Daniel Snyder and Ron Rivera's loyalty, obviously, was Scott Turner. So I think that the move to Eric Bieniemy will prove to be bigger than any offseason acquisition within the last 10 to 15 years. I think that that's how important Eric Bieniemy is going to be to this franchise moving forward. I think that they've have a plan in place, not just for this year, but for the years moving forward, whether it be, you know, 1 year or 2 years, where you see Eric Bieniemy come in. I think it's a perfect opportunity for a new ownership to land a guy that has been coveted by many outsiders of the NFL, you know, whether it be pundits, analysts, and things like that. I think it's a perfect situation for Eric Bieniemy and a new ownership group. So I think that we still have a lot of work to do. Like I said, I'm just trying to be, you know, grounded here. Yeah, but I think that there's a lot of work to be done. I just want people to remember that and not get, you know, overzealous and be like, oh my God, the sky is falling if we're not, you know, 15-2, you know, next season. You know what I'm saying?
Again, we're 17-0 until I find out otherwise. But it's interesting, Beard, that you mentioned this, because the Code Talker had put that, and cue the conspiracy theory music again there, Stoner, because Code Talker here's got one. Commander conspiracy theory. I believe Riverboat is going to step down after this year to spend time with his family, and aging father EB will inherit the team. And for Brian, conspiracy theory outside of that, you got to figure Ron Rivera is going to be on a short leash here. Obviously, he's not going to be cut or released prior to the season. We're too close. The deal can't even be solidified until the end of May, which by that time you're in OTAs and everything. So how short of a leash do you think Ron Rivera is going to have, and that we might potentially see the move to Eric Bieniemy even mid-season?
And look, before I say this, I am a Ron fan. When we hired him, I was like, he's the guy. He's going to turn it around here. Have I been disappointed with some of the things he's done? Absolutely. But I think Ron has weathered so many more scandals that would have crushed some of the other head coaches that probably could have come here. So I give him a ton of credit for that. But unfortunately, the fact is Ron doesn't win. He doesn't win. His last winning season, 2017 with Cam Newton. I mean, that was a long time ago. So yes, he is going to be on a short leash. Harris, Magic Johnson, Rails, these are all guys who expect performance, top performing, return on investment, revenue, money. They expect the bottom line to be good. And Ron's bottom line hasn't been good enough these last couple of years, or actually last several years, honestly, going into Carolina. So he's going to be looked at very closely. And if Ron has one of his classic slow starts to the season, 2-6, 1-5 type things, I can absolutely see a change being made, and I can see an Eric Bieniemy being the guy, right? Like, I don't believe that there's an appetite to see a Jack Del Rio as a interim head coach. I think, you got the guy that everybody's been talking about. Why hasn't he got a head coaching opportunity? So I absolutely think that. Now, again, that's a nightmare scenario in terms of the season, right? Because we probably start off again in a bad way. But it's certainly possible because, Ron, that's what he does. He starts off slow and then he gets the team charging hard towards the end of the season, trying to make that playoff push. So good conspiracy theory. I like it. It does have some legs to it. I hope it doesn't turn out like that. I hope we don't start out slow. But I can very easily see that happening, and it would make some sense. Why Eric Bieniemy kind of chose us to come here, among some other reasons. But I like that one. That was a good one.
Could you imagine if Spurrier was in charge through all the stuff that's happened with the pandemic, with the everything that went on with the Washington Post and all those Can you imagine if Spurrier was in charge during that?
My favorite Spurrier line is that, well, he's not in jail, is he? I forget with the player who missed practice for a couple of days. Well, he's not in jail, is he? Yeah. He would have broken down and gone play golf long ago.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a good point that you brought up, Brian, that saying that Ron has handled that, and he may have been the only guy really who could have handled all of that went on. So
it's been a lot, and we've talked about it here on the channel, and what I've likened him to is a different Redskins head coach from yonder was George Allen. Now he was coach of the year in 1971, but he never won the Super Bowl, right, with the team, but he did right the team, because the team at when he took over had been abysmal for years, not winning anything. And so he kind of got them back into prominence. And then a couple coaches later were with Joe Gibbs, and we have a dynasty. And this is kind of where I feel like Ron Rivera's, he had to come in and not just try to win football games, but he had an entire culture to turn around. And that's kind of why I liken him to George Allen, is like he took over after years of losing and had to try to instill, a whole brand new kind of football mentality. And so I do appreciate Ron. Ryan, you're absolutely right. He's just not winning, and that's why I think that,
So let me ask one question really fast, though, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So as much of, everybody's like, Dan's got to sell the team. We got to get rid of the owner. Like, everything would be different if Dan Snyder wasn't the owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does Ron Rivera not fall in the category of everything would be different if Dan Snyder wasn't the owner? Does Ron Rivera does he not get the same pass as everybody else because he's not winning, but he's been having to deal with Dan Snyder. So does he not deserve a fresh year of the post Dan era to prove that he can do things a certain way without Dan Snyder?
Beard, from a fan's perspective, absolutely, he probably does. But from a Josh Harris perspective, when he comes in and he's making these decisions now, he's not going to look at it that way. He's not going to look at what he did under Dan Snyder. He's going to look, first of all, he's going to look if he's winning. And second of all, he's going to look, does this guy work well with me? Are we going to have that good relationship? Can we make this happen?
I think that's the most important part too.
Yeah, and then he's probably going to find somebody who he's already comfortable with who's going to do all of that. So I think there's just two ways to look at it. Fans' perspective, maybe Ron should get another chance because he was working under that Snyder regime. But I don't think Josh Harris is going to think that way at all.
I think you guys are exactly right. A new ownership coming in, especially in this situation where there has been such turmoil. No billionaire who's just paid $6 billion is going to want any link to the past, right or wrong, about the job Rivera has done here. He's probably going to look at himself and says, I need to wash all of this stink away. Everybody, head coach, players, front office, scout, everybody. And I'm going to get my own people. So I can easily see Harris being like, hey, we appreciate it. You did a hell of a job. We know your hands were tied behind your back, but I just can't have anything tying, I want to take this to a new place. I can't have anything tying us to the past anymore. We've got to go in a new direction. So I can see something like that happening regardless of, how, what Ron's had to work with here.
I see it kind of like when you're talking about changing like a job, right? Sometimes you when you're trying to progress up the ranks, there's only so far you can go, right? When you started where Ron started, he's probably gone as far as he can go. And so you do move on from him. And then the next coach starts where Ron left off. And then that person tries to bring you further up the ladder of success. Is kind of how I kind of
it's all there. It's all there for us, right? Like, there's not one person in the world who, as soon as Eric Bieniemy decided to come to Washington, did not think that the next head coach to bring Washington to the promised land, whether it be a NFC championship, a double-digit win season, a Super Bowl, whatever your level of promised land may be, there's not one person that didn't think that next person that's going to do that is going to be Eric Bieniemy and not Ron Rivera, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah, why not Washington? It got everyone really excited, really, really pumped. And so Beard, to you for the last question for you here is Stoner's convinced that the ownership, they spend this money on a new toy. Now, you mentioned Harris has experience, Magic has experience when it comes to owning franchise. So I think they're less prone to do this, but Stoner's convinced they'll make a big splash. Maybe not necessarily this year because we're kind of late in the season for it, but maybe next season. What do you think that big splash is going to be?
So are we talking about on the field or off the field?
Oh, on the field.
He wants on the field,
but not necessarily players.
Yeah.
We could be talking coaches, and that's kind of where my idea is.
I think, it's so we are in like the purgatory right now. So it's so difficult to make that decision because I'm a huge Lamar Jackson guy, right? I think Lamar Jackson is easily, when healthy, a top 6 quarterback in the National Football League.
Agreed.
And anybody who says that Lamar Jackson can't throw doesn't watch football. Okay, so for me, like, I think that's obviously on a lot of people's minds. But I just don't think that a new ownership wants to put themselves in a bind that early. So I think what's going to happen is whatever happens this year is going to determine the progression and next steps that this organization decides to take. I personally think the biggest splash is going to be off the field. I don't expect a rebrand. Obviously, I hate. I don't hate, but I disliked the Commanders as the name change. It wasn't my favorite pick. But geez, dude, I'm so over it. Like I cannot go through another name change. Like I just right when I figured
if
out,
you're gonna do it, just do it. Just
What if he came in? What if Josh Harris came in on the day that they signed or agreed or whatever, and he said, "Tomorrow we're the Red Wolves." You'd be okay with that if it was that.
I would be okay if it was like that. Yeah, but I can't because as soon as I got used to saying how long it took me on our show to be like Washington football team and just being like rolling off the tongue, right? And then as soon as I got it, it was like we're the Commanders, and I'm like, God, I just said Washington for the rest of my life. Just Washington.
I'll be like the Washington football franchise because it's just it's so much. But winning,
I think the splash. Yeah, I think the splash is the new stadium. I think the new stadium is going to be the biggest change in this organization moving forward. I personally think that they're going to find a way to bring it back to DC. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I live close to RFK. My first game was at RFK. I think that if this new ownership wants to really regain the top tier level of an organization that they once were, they have to find a way to make it work with the city and make it work on the old grounds of RFK. It's easily accessible by Metro. That neighborhood is obviously a lot different than what it was when I was growing up. So for all those people that are living there now that don't want a stadium, well, listen, you guys weren't there when this thing was originally there, so you guys are gonna have to either buckle down and get down with the get down or get out and move to Virginia. Okay.
Right.
Because that's what I really want. That's what I really think is going to happen. And I think Eric Bieniemy is going to be the future, hopefully for many, many years to come. I think that if I was a billionaire, which hopefully one day I will be, I think that this is a perfect opportunity. What they are buying right now is a diamond in the rough. They have a lot of valuable pieces and assets on the field and off the field. I think this is a great decision. It's a happy day for everybody in the Washington Commanders universe. So that's where I'm at right now.
Well, we appreciate you, Beard, jumping on.
Thank you,
Authentic and the Beard. Got to check out their channel. Great content that they provide us. And Beard obviously providing the burgundy and gold side of the house.
Big shout out to you guys that rep the district. I just want to let everybody know I have seen these guys come so far in this game, and you guys are absolutely awesome. I'm glad I was there in the beginning all the way till now because you guys are so hardworking. You're super deserving. I just want to say big shout out to you guys. It's awesome to see what you guys are doing right now, and I'm excited for what the future holds for you guys. As much as this new ownership group. So big shout out to Rep the District. I appreciate you guys.
If I had a button queued up for an awe, I would put that on there. But I don't.
Oh wait, here you go, right?
Awesome one. Yeah,
thank you guys so much for having me on. We'll be back hopefully for some draft stuff coming up. Once again, do not draft a running back at 16. I'm gonna leave on that note. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.
All right, appreciate it, Beard. Brian, we got one more for you as well here, and it's kind of surrounding that last topic about the big splash. Maybe not a running back at 16, like was mentioned before. Maybe not Lamar Jackson. Maybe it is a coach that happens. But realistically, what do you kind of expect to be the big thing this season that's going to happen? This will be kind of the first season of the Harris, Rails, Magic Johnson, tenure. What do you expect from them this season?
Yeah, I can see it being relatively quiet, but what I can see is some, maybe a Cam Curl extension happening right after they take over, right? We were talking about that earlier in terms of, before Daron Payne got signed, does he get signed? What about Chase's option? So I can see a Cam Curl extension happening. I can also see when the new ownership group comes in and takes over and they're fully in charge, I can see Harris, Johnson, Rails finding their own kind of Jason Wright or their own kind of GM consultant type person to come in and kind of monitor and maybe kind of peek over the shoulder of Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney, and Ron Rivera, because this is going to be a big evaluation year for Ron Rivera. Harris is going to be looking at the entire operation as a whole. Hey, how are we coaching? How are we doing things in the salary cap? How are we doing things from front office, from trades? How are we doing things from scouting? He's going to be looking at everything, because this is, I think a couple of the guys already mentioned it already. This is a complete teardown and rebuild from the ground up, right? Everything is going to, right? This is that diamond in the rough. This is the worst house on the block, and we're going to turn it into the most expensive house on the block by the time that we get done with this renovation. So I can see a couple of extensions for a couple of guys, in particular a Cam Curl, but I can also see Harris, Johnson, and Rails bringing in some type of experienced NFL executive to be their eyes and ears and kind of monitor and watch what's going on with this football operation. So I expect that to happen because everybody's on notice now, right? Everybody is on notice. They're going to have to put their best foot forward, and they're going to have to really shine up everything for this new ownership group if they want to think about staying long term.
All right. Well, this is Brian from the Declassified Washington, bringing us great football content throughout the year. Brian, we appreciate you jumping on here and talking about this new possible, close 1 yard line ownership change. It looks like it's going to be the Harris Group after all.
No, thank you guys for having me on. It was awesome watching you guys talk about this great news. So thank you so much.
Excellent.
Right.
Thank you, Brian. You have a great night now. We
Thank
do
you.
have one more guest in the back, and I'm going to get to them real quick, but I did want to talk on this comment here. The Code Talker asking, does anyone know if the 200 acres that Dan purchased in Virginia are being sold to the new owners? Now, so I'm assuming Code Talker here is talking about when there was the stadium talk going on, the Commanders purchased the right to purchase land in Virginia, that's more southern down the 95 there. So that they didn't actually purchase that. And Chris Mahoney agreeing here, wasn't ever fully purchased. It was the right to purchase is what they did. They kind of put down $1 saying, it's kind of like calling next on the table, the pool table there when you're at a bar. Now, what is included in the deal is that land in FedEx. They own 200 acres of the area, the FedEx kind of plantation, or that area. Plantation is probably not the right word. But they own 200 acres in FedEx area. And so that part is kind of interesting because the part of the deal is the area that's out in Ashburn, a little less significant out in Ashburn, especially what's built up there. I think Stoner would be kind of interesting to see if the new ownership can get the RFK site, make that the stadium, and maybe the 200 acres here in the FedEx location becomes the training facilities and other things like that. I just don't know what's going to happen. As Michael points out, there is a little bit of time here. They play in FedEx till 2027. The big thing, though, is when you're talking about these huge construction projects, they have to get approved kind of now. Otherwise, what we're probably going to end up seeing, and this is me putting on my future site here, is the lease is going to go up at FedEx. We're going to be a year or two away from the new stadium being built, and our NFL team will be playing at the Maryland college campus. And then they'll be playing down in Richmond, Virginia. They'll be playing somewhere else that fits for them, because they were not going to be able to play at FedEx, and then the new stadium won't be built. So that's probably what's going to happen. But that's not what we're going to be talking about with our man here from ProTech Sports. It's Tony. Thanks for coming on here with us.
So y'all.
What's up? So Tone, what was your reaction when you first heard the news that it's not sold? We understand that, but it's basically a done deal. Where were you, and what was your reaction?
I was at work, and I got a text message from a friend of mine. I didn't get a notification until like an hour later. I was like, oh. He's actually going to sell this joint? Like, what's going on? Like, you serious? And I saw a notification on NFL.com. I was like, let's go! He's out of here! He's out of here! Oh my gosh! Thank you. He's out of here. The cloud over the organization is gone. Like the black cloud, the dark hole that surrounded the Washington franchise is gone. Like, this is real life. Like, this is really going on. Like, he's actually about to sell this team. Like, for real. And I was just so shocked. Because you know, we kept saying, "Oh, it's not real until it's official," and it's like it's unofficially official. So it's like, yeah, like this is good. Like I'm happy. So I was ecstatic, man. I was so ecstatic.
What do you think's the biggest thing that a new owner is going to do, whether it's on the field or off the field, or let me rephrase that. What's the biggest thing that you hope that the owner is going to do when they first come in, when Josh Harris Group first comes in?
Bring credibility. Like, that's number one, first and foremost.
Well, how do you do that? How does he do that?
By being the opposite of Dan Snyder. That's how. Being the opposite of Dan.
Not being named Dan Snyder already brings credibility.
Just be the opposite of him. Don't have these scandals and all this crap and, messing with cheerleaders and all the disgusting stuff he did. It was just nasty. It's disgusting. But, I'm a Sixers fan, so I'm very, very familiar with Josh Harris. I've been at the Wells Fargo Center a bunch of times. I went up to Philly to watch Sixers games, and the customer service is always great. I've been able to bring that to Washington right away as well. Everyone's very, very nice. And we go to FedEx, no offense to FedEx Field right now, but it's not as friendly as you people think it is. It's like, oh yeah, come buy this, come do this. But it's like they don't bring you like that great customer service vibe you're supposed to bring. So I think Josh Harris and company will bring employees that's going to bring that kind of vibe to the stadium. And also they're going to also bring immediate credibility because the Sixers are actually a solid franchise, unlike what the Commanders are right now. So they automatically bring great customer service for the fans that come to the stadium and also credibility immediately.
Now we've asked quite a few different questions from our audience and for our guest today, and I haven't quite gone this route. Now I did ask one of the earlier groups, what is the one thing you'd like to see undone? And I'm kind of go back a little bit to that well. And what is your biggest memory from the Dan Snyder era that you just want to be washed away with this new group and, maybe some winning on the season?
Him buying a team in the first place. To be honest, like this, I wish it never happened, but I think my number one thing that really pissed me off about Dan Snyder is the fact that he never renovated FedEx Field. That place is, I love the fans, I love the vibe, but the actual stadium is a dump. It's horrible. You got 20-inch TVs that cover the 200 sections. Like you go to Atlanta. I went to the Falcon Stadium, went to Mercedes Dome. You got jumbotrons and crap and this and that and and state of the art. And it looks beautiful. The product on the field isn't as great as it should be.
You don't have Chick-fil-A on Sundays, though.
Yeah. Ain't no Chick-fil-A, but it's everything else. It's everything else, Stoner. Every freaking thing else but freaking Chick-fil-A. And we got this crap for just a stadium experience. So I don't know what they really pissed me off as also season ticket holder too. So it's just like, bro, like, come on, bro, bring us better quality than this. Like, come on. Like, I'm happy to see the fans, but bro, like, come on, bro. Like, this is trash. It's the fact never renovated FedEx Field. And just tired of losing. How many 10-win seasons Dan had? Like 2, 3? Like 1999, 2005, and 2020.
Yeah, we counted 6 playoff games is what we counted earlier.
3-10 winning season. That's pathetic. Mm-hmm. So those two things need to change. The quality of the actual field and the stadium experience and the lack of winning. Those two things change and those things get undone. I'll be very, very, very satisfied.
I think a lot of us are right there with you, Tony. We do appreciate you jumping on. We've been going for an hour 50, so we're going to wrap it up here shortly. But we wanted to thank you for jumping on with us and sharing your initial reaction, some of your thoughts on the potential sale of this team, because we do got to hit home that it's not technically done. But we had AJ Perez on earlier, and he told us really it's the Harris deal and that's it. Yep. So we should get this closed out fairly soon, and hopefully, Tony, we got more good times. Are you going to be? We were told there's a GoFundMe for a parade. You going to be there at a parade if we have one?
Heck yeah! Heck yeah! What? He's on this team. I'm going crazy. I'm going to do backflips. I ain't done backflips 15 years. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Well, this is Tony from ProTech.
All right, ProTech.
Jumping on here.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for having me on. Subscribe to these people, man. They're great, man. Stoner.
I appreciate it. Same to you.
Great, man. I guys are great. I love the content. Keep it up. And this has been very, very fun to watch you guys grow. I remember you guys had like 300-something subscribers. Like, how to grow? So, bro, just keep putting out content. Just keep grinding.
Mm-hmm.
It'll get
keep
there.
grinding.
And look at you guys. Boom! Boom! Look at you guys. Incredible. Shout out to y'all, man.
Appreciate that. Thank you, and have a good night. Stoner, we are going to be wrapping it up, and I want to wrap it up with some of our thoughts here is, we are very excited, obviously. We're pretty happy, and yes, there's some that dose of reality that we had. Now, I'm glad we had AJ on because he kind of helped us get back into the hype mode for this. Realistically, we've tweeted out that this is kind of making us all want to become season ticket holders again.
Yeah.
For you, what does this mean? Because again, we know, for those who don't know, Stoner is a transplant. He came to this team. He's a Florida guy. Steve Spurrier came to the team. Stoner was living in the area, military. Took him, graced him by coming here to Maryland, and he became a diehard burgundy and gold guy.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it mean for you now that maybe this dark cloud's being removed that is Dan Snyder, and we're going to potentially see some difference here in our favorite sports franchise?
I think a lot of the people who are on here really summed it up pretty well, but it's a credibility issue. It's walking down the street wearing the burgundy and gold and making sure that, or not making sure, but just feeling that you're not being ridiculed by what you're wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And having to defend the team all the time when the stadium is not great, and when you have the ATL chants coming out and the Steeler towels and the cheese heads and all that, when everyone invades our stadium and it's embarrassing, you're always having to defend. And hopefully we don't have to do it anymore. And it's not going to be immediate, but it is actually going to be immediate. The first game is going to be crazy, first home game. But I mean, the whole transformation is not going to be immediate. So I think it's just the pride that we're going to feel, the credibility that we used to feel when they were good, when there were the times they were good. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
I know you're going to go absolutely nuts when I feel like now it's a win where we get Hard Knocks at this point. I just have a feeling that this is sealing it, right? This is like, we were probably, I think Beard was the one who said Jets were probably going to be the front runners. Maybe it wasn't Beard. Maybe it was one of our other guests. I'll go through the list and do appreciate them coming on, but maybe the Jets were going to be front runners with Aaron Rodgers and all that, but they still haven't really worked that out. We have a new owner. We have EB as a new coordinator. You've got some exciting young guys. And I think that could be I think this new owner thing is what's going to push that over. And I know that you're just going to go absolutely nuts when that happens. There's been several shout outs for our guests on there, and several people pointing to me as the one who gathered them. I do want to give this man Stoner the props. I was coaching Gavin's soccer team. And so he put together our list of guests here. He reached out. So we can thank him for having the DMV mess hall guys, both Rally Captain and Tailgate Ted. We had Phil from the Command This podcast. We had George Carmy from Command the Mic, full press coverage. We had Amit and K-Dot from District Divided. Corey from On the Warpath was on. Deuce from the Red Zone in the Lab and the 54th. Beard from Authentic in the Beard. Brian from the Classified, and you guys were just here for Tony from Protect Sports, but none of those guys, and we had AJ from Front Office Sports. I mentioned that earlier. We appreciate them, but none of them would have been here without the due diligence of my man Stoner. So I just want to give him some props there. And I know, guys, normally he only organizes the Stonely fans, but he did a great job organizing this chat today, and we appreciate everyone who's coming in. Michael, Gus Bus, Luke, some of the guys, HT's in the house. We appreciate you coming. Code Talker with some good points and questions there as well. We appreciate everyone who is jumping in on the chat. We try to get to as many of them as we can. We'll be live again on Wednesday here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So we appreciate all the support. But until next time,
go get Lamar. Just saying. Oh, wait, I got one for you. Wait, sorry. Wait, ready?
Game over.
Until next time, be a fan.